In the hushed, expectant courtroom of Sterling City, the air hung heavy with suppressed whispers. Two officers, Officer Thorne and Officer Vance, leaned against a back wall, their uniforms a crisp barrier against the informal crowd. They smirked as a woman in a stark, obsidian suit entered, her presence a quiet ripple in the stagnant air. She moved with deliberate grace, taking a seat in the gallery. "Look who decided to grace us with her presence," Thorne muttered, a sneer twisting his lips. "Here to protest, I bet. Probably one of those justice warriors who thinks the world owes her something." Vance scoffed, the sound low and venomous. "Or maybe she's here to show solidarity with one of her crew on trial. They all crawl out of the woodwork when it suits them. Always late to the party, acting like they own the place." The woman didn't flinch. She sat with perfect posture, her gaze sweeping the room, a silent assessment in her eyes. It was a calm that unnerved the officers, a stillness that suggested she belonged there more than they did. "She probably snuck past security," Thorne whispered. "They always think the rules don't apply to them." Vance crossed her arms, a muscle in her jaw twitching. "Just hope she doesn't make a scene. The last thing we need is a lecture on systemic bias or whatever new buzzword they've conjured up." A court clerk passed by, their eyes widening in recognition as they saw the woman. A flicker of nervous respect crossed their face before they quickly moved on. Thorne noticed. "What was that all about?" she said. "Does she know her?" "Probably one of those influencer types," Vance replied. "They all stick together. It's a whole network." Just then, the courtroom doors opened and the young prosecutor stepped in. He greeted the officers casually. "Everything under control?" he asked. "As a matter of fact, yes," Vance replied, her eyes darting to the woman. "Just another spectator who thinks she deserves a front row seat to the show. She looks familiar, though." The prosecutor's brow furrowed slightly. "I'm sure she does," Thorne said with a sarcastic grin. "Probably saw her on a protest sign somewhere." The judge had yet to appear, but the energy in the room had shifted, conversations dying down to a low hum. The woman remained motionless. Her fingers went to the clasp of a small leather notebook. With calm, deliberate movements, she scribbled something down. Nothing dramatic, just a couple of numbers. The badge numbers on the officers' uniforms. They didn't even notice that a few rows back, a man whispered to his companion. "Did you see what she just wrote?" "Just taking notes or something," came the reply. The officers, emboldened by their own mockery, began to speak louder, as if to provoke a reaction. "I guarantee she'll say we gave her a dirty look," Vance scoffed. "They always twist things." Thorne laughed. "If I had a dime for every time someone called me a bigot just for doing my job." The woman looked up. Her eyes, unwavering and dark, met theirs. She didn't speak, but the stillness she held was a force all its own. The bailiff entered. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Valerius." Everyone stood. The judge took a seat. As the court's business began, the woman slipped her notebook back into her bag and stood. She walked calmly toward a side door marked restricted access. "Hey," Vance hissed, a sharp edge to her voice. "Where does she think she's going? Should we stop her?" Thorne asked, already moving. Before they could, the bailiff intercepted them. "Officers," he said, "the judge requests your presence." "What? What for?" Vance snapped. "It's about your behavior," the bailiff said, his voice even and grave. "If you'll follow me." Confused, the two officers followed him down the same hallway the woman had just taken. Their bravado evaporated as they approached a small, windowless room with a single table, 2 chairs, and a surveillance camera in each corner. There she was, the woman, seated at the table, calm, waiting. Thorne took a step back. "What is this?" Vance tried to hold her ground. "Who even are you?" The woman finally spoke, her voice low and clear. "You represent the law," she said. "Do you believe your words earlier did the same?" On the table, a small recorder blinked a single red light. Click! Their voices echoed back at them, clear and unfiltered. "Look who wandered in. Probably one of her cousins on trial. You know how they are, always think rules don't apply." Vance's face went white. Thorne opened her mouth, but no defense came out. "Who are you?" Vance finally managed. The woman didn't answer right away. She leaned forward, her presence filling the quiet space. "I have access," she said simply. "I wasn't here to make a scene. I was here to document one." The door opened behind them. A government official entered, a sealed file in hand. The officers turned, their arrogance gone, replaced with questions and, for the first time, fear. The woman stood. "You thought I was no one," she said, walking toward the exit. "But that's the thing about silence. It listens longer than you speak." She paused at the door, her hand on the knob. "And this is just the beginning," she said. Then she was gone, leaving the officers and their arrogance behind. In the bustling courtroom of Sterling City, Thorne and Vance laughed quietly, leaning against the wall. "Look at her," Vance scoffed, nodding toward the composed woman in a plain gray suit seated silently in the gallery. "Acting like she belongs here." Thorne smirked. "She probably thinks she's here for some kind of justice. Give her 5 minutes, she'll be crying racism." The woman said nothing, her eyes scanning the room with calm precision. To them, she looked like no one, but something about her presence unsettled the clerk, who glanced at her nervously and dropped a folder. "What's her deal?" Vance muttered. The woman's silence only irritated them more. "Think they even checked her bag at security?" Thorne added. "Wouldn't be surprised if she brought drama instead of an ID." Their whispering stopped briefly when a court intern approached. "Excuse me, do you know who that woman is?" Vance laughed. "Someone with a discount suit and an attitude." "That's who." The intern hesitated, then retreated. "All rise." The bailiff called as Judge Valerius entered. The woman didn't flinch. She calmly opened a small notebook and jotted something down. "Badge numbers. Did she just write us down?" Vance hissed. "What does she think she's doing? Probably another activist pretending to be important." Thorne said. When the judge recessed briefly, the woman stood and walked to a restricted access door. "Hey, where's she going?" Vance said, her voice sharp now. "She can't go in there without clearance." Thorne barked, suddenly uneasy. Before they could follow, the bailiff approached. "Officers, you're needed in chambers." "Now, what's this about?" Vance asked. "Your conduct," the bailiff said evenly. Inside a plain room, the woman sat at a table, calm and waiting. Thorne snorted. "You again? Who do you think you are?" The woman looked up. "You label me a criminal. You judged me without a word. That wasn't a mistake, it was systemic." Vance stiffened. "We're allowed to talk." "Not like that. Not in uniform. Not in public," she said. Two suited men entered. One dropped an envelope, the other a folder with a government crest. "What is this?" Thorne snapped. "Preliminary charges," the woman replied. "Misconduct, abuse of authority, hate speech." "You set us up," Vance shouted. "No. You revealed yourselves," she said, rising. "There's been a concealed microphone here all day." Thorne went pale. "This is a stunt." Her eyes sharpened. "This is accountability." The bailiff returned with a trembling clerk. "Officers Thorne and Vance, back to court." The room was packed, charged with tension. At the center stood the woman, calm, a gold badge gleaming. "National Directorate of Internal Security." Judge Valerius nodded. "Director Miller." Gasp spread. Vance staggered. Thorne went white. With the court's permission, she began, "I present evidence of racial bias and misconduct by uniformed officers, recorded firsthand." The judge gestured. "Proceed." Vance's voice cracked. "Madam Director, we didn't know who you were." "That's the problem," she said. "You thought I was no one." The judge opened the folder. "This authorizes an immediate review of your conduct and every case you've touched." Thorne protested. "We were just doing our jobs." "Your job," the director snapped. "Framing citizens? Mocking them in court?" The judge lifted a hand. "We'll review the evidence." In the gallery, Lena squeezed her daughter's hand. "Who is she, Mommy?" "Someone who makes the silence shake." The director turned back to the bench. "Justice doesn't start with speeches. It starts with listening. Today we listened." But just as she reached for her folder, a voice called from the back. "Objection, Your Honor." A man in a Navy suit stepped forward, 3 officers behind him. He raised credentials. "Special Counsel James Holston, Department of State Oversight." "I'm afraid the director may need to answer a few questions herself." Gasps rang out again. The judge looked at her. "Is this true?" She didn't blink. Let them speak. I have nothing to hide. But her eyes flicked to Lena, to the child, to the future, and silence fell again. No longer dismissal, but the silence before the storm.